Hey everyone, welcome to the Indie Developer Q&A number 2. This is a very relaxed video where I'm playing Cuphead in the background and I'm going to be answering a bunch of your questions. The first question is from Tristan T, and this is about motivation to completely finish a game. It's a very difficult task, and just like you, I have done the loop of starting a new project before completing the current one and being stuck in that. That's why I called it the loop. And I figured quite a few of you might be stuck in this loop. Now, I'm not going to pretend I have the answers to get you out of it, but I can try and give you something that helps me. First of all, a lot of times we will work on a game mechanic or a prototype, because we think it's really cool. And that's really great. But to get to the finish line, often we need a goal. We need something to work towards and a direction. So you need to figure out, what is the purpose of this game you're working on? What's it going to drive you towards? For example, I'm currently turning Ray the Robot into my first game for the company that I am starting up, and that is going to lead to my second VR game, and Ray the Robot may be a kind of gateway or a way for me to get to funding, as I can use it as a point and I can point various companies towards a previous work that I did. So have a goal in mind, and that's a very business-orientated goal. I have other goals. For example, getting Ray the Robot, I would be extremely proud to get that game out there. It's been something that I have wanted to do for ages, a VR third-person platformer. So, figure out your goal. It could be a business-related goal, a financial-related goal for your game. It could be a creative goal. It doesn't really matter. It just has to be important to you. And if your goal is really important to you, you'll work towards it. And that comes to the second point. You need the discipline as well. A lot of people just give up on their games entirely, and sometimes it's very much so a lack of discipline. And a lot of people get, really motivated to finish their games, but the motivation dies out really quickly. Motivation is great, inspiration is amazing, but at the end of the day, discipline is what gets you, to the finish line. Discipline is what gets you, if you go to the gym, discipline is what gets you to the gym every day or 2 days or whatever you do. Discipline is what will get you to the finish line on your game. And to help with that, I would highly recommend looking into something like Asana or Trello and research project management, just so you can understand how to have a structure for your game. I've found a lot of indie developers don't have a structure. So they don't have something like an agile methodology set up where basically, let's say every 2 weeks, so let's say you got 6 months to make the game, and every 2 weeks you have what we call a sprint, and then towards that sprint we have a bunch of deliverables, which are tasks. And the great thing about this is every 2 weeks you have a kind of stepping stone towards your massive milestone, which is completing the game. So before that 6 months, every 2 weeks you're doing a sprint, and in that 2 weeks you know exactly what tasks to do and you can tick them off online. And it's just such a great way to work, and it's very motivating, as it's kind of like you're seeing all the progress visually and all the data. That's what I would recommend. Yeah, think about the end goal, think about how you can have more discipline, and also think about maybe some project management. No, I don't mean go research the hell out of it and go study it. Project management's quite boring most of the time, but learn enough to manage your project. Maybe just type into Google project management for game developers. Don't go through some boring stuff. Just read a page and set up a Trello or Asana and you'll be fine. Yeah, those are the 3 things I would recommend. The next question, I can't really pronounce that, but it's TBJBU2. And this is about, what did you work in before you started making games? Oh, right. So, and you're not working anymore, right. So before I started working on games full-time, I was teaching, and I was also doing contracts in mobile game development and stuff like that. Back when I was using Unity, mobile game development was very popular and is still very popular in Sydney. And it was very easy to get side jobs in doing C# programming in mobile game dev. And my other job, which I was working at maybe, I think it was 30 hours a week, was teaching. I was teaching game development, all different types. Back then I was doing some stuff with mobile VR in Unity, which was really cool. kind of the Gear VR, and back in the day with mobile. Why am I saying back in the day? It's like 2 years ago. The Cardboard VR, and I was doing all kinds of cool stuff, teaching, so that was fun. And yeah, just doing contracts. Am I working anymore? I'm not teaching anymore, but I'm doing lots of exciting contracts, especially because of this YouTube channel. I'm pushing out a lot of my work, trying to be very active and producing a lot of things. It's led to a lot of amazing opportunities. I've done a bunch of contracts and consulting. Even in America, I've been reached out to from places like in San Francisco. I can't talk about them because of NDAs, but I've been able to do a lot of amazing projects. There is actually quite a few cool things I wish I could share with you all, hopefully sometime in the future, but I'm tied down by a bunch of NDAs that I've signed. But yeah, and if you're not working anymore, do you have money saved? Yes, of course. It was very important to save money from my previous job, so I do have money saved, and that's kind of my buffer. The idea is really not to touch the buffer from my perspective. That is why, even though I'm working on my games full-time, it's very smart to do contract work on the side. And YouTube really helps. So if you are someone who would like to get more contract opportunities, the idea from my perspective and what I've experienced this year is just try and get your work in as many places as possible. All you need is the right one view on a YouTube video, or the right one person to view a blog post, or whatever it is, and you have a new opportunity, even on Twitter. So I would recommend just trying to spread your work out, and just get people's attention, and amazing opportunities hopefully will pop up. I'm not guaranteeing they will, but you're just increasing your chances by posting your work in multiple places. A Noop asks about music, and what would you suggest for getting music in your games at an affordable rate? So what I would recommend, and this is to another point as well, I really heavily believe in networking and reaching out to people, contacting people, sending emails. You know, you could get rejected, sure, but it doesn't matter. I've learnt a lot, especially towards the end of this year, that it's so great to reach out to people. Most of the time, people are really good. They get back to you. You know, sometimes they don't get back to you, which is fine. Sometimes you'll get a rejection, which is also fine. People are busy. They have their own priorities. But, you know, occasionally you reach out and something really amazing happens. And the reason I brought this up is because I recently reached out to the guy who did the music for Refunct, and I wanted to use some of his music in my YouTube videos because I went through his Bandcamp and I really loved it. And he said, yeah, it was fine to do as long as I give him a credit, and that was awesome. So I bought his album, and then I asked him about how would I go about getting your music in one of my games, and he said that there are kind of two ways. For Refunct, he did a one-time fee license. I'm not sure how much it was, but basically you just pay a certain amount and you get to use the entire album and all the songs in your game, which is amazing. It's just a one-time license. And the other way is that, you know, they can produce some music specifically for your game. And I know you mentioned the budget, so what I would recommend is, because if you're just starting up and you find other musicians starting up, everyone wants to kind of build upwards. Now, at that stage, you don't necessarily have a lot of money, so maybe because they're building up as well, you guys could collaborate on something, and maybe the fees could be a bit lower whilst both of you are trying to rise up. Maybe they could do a deal for you to get the album at a cheaper price for the license. So really, I recommend networking with people. Go on Bandcamp, go on SoundCloud, go on YouTube. Find musicians at a smaller scale that you like and talk to them. It's as simple as that. If you don't talk to people, you never know what can happen, and you're never aware of the opportunities. And that person may want the exact same thing as you. You might message someone and they'll say, oh, thank you for contacting me. I've actually wanted to get my game into music, but I didn't know how to go about it. So yeah, I would recommend doing some research, finding some artists that you really like, and reaching out to them and seeing if you can make a deal happen. That's about it. Rudy Hartwig asks, what is the one goal you had when you started game development that I haven't achieved yet? I can list a more current goal. I don't really remember my old goals, but I recently got a Nintendo Switch, and because we don't really have Black Friday sales in Australia, but it seems to be coming in this year. So they were selling the Nintendo Switch really cheap, and I picked one up, and I'm amazed by it. I absolutely love playing it. And after playing the handheld mode, playing Mario Odyssey, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I would love to one day work on a game for the Nintendo Switch. Just a, medium length, downloadable game, Nintendo Switch. I think that'd be amazing. That's one of my game dev goals at the moment, just because I really like that device. I like that console. And that's the end of the Indie Dev Q&A. I hope you all enjoyed it. Just remember, this is all my perspective. This is not something you should just follow flat out. If you disagree with me, definitely you should disagree with me. If you agree with something, that's great, but don't follow anything that I say or anyone else says blindly. We all have our own biases and our own perspectives and situations. Something that works in my situation may not work in your situation. And yeah, just keep that in mind. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video.